G'day. Things are certainly getting pretty serious now. The FDA provides update on recall of certain Philips Respironics breathing assistant machines. In response to the recall, the FDA recently conducted an inspection of a Philips Respironics manufacturing facility to try and piece together how we got here. How did this happen? And let me tell you this, it's not the first time the FDA has had to go and inspect a site facility of Philips. The Inspector Caitlin A. Staub-Zamperini has since made several remarkable observations in the report, and I'll try and summarise those observations shortly, but before I do, here's the most important part of the press release from the FDA. So originally the FDA approved the Philips recall plan, which was basically to swap out that polyester-based polyurethane foam with the new white silicone-based foam that found in the DreamStation 2. So they were going to swap out this black stuff, the nasty stuff, with the new silicone-based foam. And the FDA approved this original recall plan based on information and testing provided by Philips back in June. However, during that facility inspection, that recent facility inspection, they have since obtained additional information not previously available to the FDA. They found a test report dated 24th of August 2021 of another Philips CPAP device marketed outside the US that already used silicone-based foam inside it for its sound abatement foam, and that device had failed VOC testing. The test report states the compounds of concern were confirmed due to their carcinogenic, mutagenic properties, and that patients would potentially be exposed to higher concentrations of compounds of concern if they utilise the device for sustained periods of time. Basically, if you use this device night after night, you're going to be exposed to high levels of these compounds of concern, these VOCs, the same sort of ones that are found in the polyester-based polyurethane foam. The FDA has since requested that Philips retain an independent laboratory to perform additional testing to determine what, if any, potential safety risks may be posed to patients by the new silicone-based foam. Yes, so depending on those independent lab results, we could very well end up with a situation where we get a recall of the recall. I shit you not. Dear God, help us all. Okay, so I've read through the inspector report and it confirms what I've been saying since the very first day of this recall, and that is that Philips has known about this for a very, very long time. I've been saying it time and time again. Well, I want to start by talking about something that's a little bit disturbing, and that is this information that you're just receiving now isn't something that's new. It's not something that just happened yesterday and they found out about it. They've known about it for a very, very long time. I've known about it for a very, very long time. All right, I'm on the forums all the time. I read all the comments. All right, people have been having problems with this foam breaking down, getting into their water chamber for a long time now. Now, Philips is claiming that their number one priority is your health, but they've waited literally years to give you this information, and they've known about it for so long before they've issued the recall. They have had complaints, they have known about the risks, and through sheer oversight, sheer incompetence, sheer negligence, they have done absolutely nothing about it. They were asleep at the wheel, and they still are. So the inspection report is 29 pages long, and I've spent the last 2 days pretty much analysing it, digesting it, going over it. There's some explosive observations. It was shocking, even for Philips standards. It shocked me. So I'm going to try and break them down for you, try and break down each observation so that it's easy to understand. Put it in Nicko terminology. Right, observation 1, and this is quite a lengthy one, the longest one, so just bear with me. Go and pour a cup of tea. Actually, you're going to need a stiff drink for this. Go and grab yourself a whiskey, no ice, no ice. All right, fill it to the brim. Or if you've got some medicinal marijuana, that stuff will work too. It'll really just help to numb the pain. All right, observation 1A. There's no documented investigation, risk analysis, or design failure mode effect analysis to support your firm's rationale for which polyester polyurethane foam containing products were affected. So what the FDA is saying here in point 1 is basically, why has Philips cherry-picked certain devices that contained polyester-based polyurethane foam over other devices? So there's obviously a number of Philips devices that still have that foam in them that haven't been recalled, and the FDA is questioning them on that, saying, well, where's your analysis? Why is that recalled and that not recalled? And I have a feeling here they're referring to ventilators. And if that is the case, that is massive news, huge news. Think about all the ventilators that have been used around the world, the Philips ventilators. We'll get into that shortly. 1B, no investigation, health hazard evaluation, risk analysis, or design review was performed when your firm was made aware that in 2015, that a preventative maintenance procedure for Trilogy ventilator devices was being implemented by another Philips entity due to potential foam degradation and related complaints of Trilogy devices in the field. In 2015, Philips developed this preventative maintenance procedure for their Trilogy ventilators. And you know what that preventative maintenance procedure was? To replace the foam, because the foam was breaking down. They're getting complaints from customers that the foam's breaking down, so they developed this procedure in 2015 so that every so often you replace the foam to stop it so that it doesn't break down. But they haven't done any health hazard evaluation. There's no risk analysis. They haven't got the documentation there to show, how they came up with this preventative maintenance procedure. Mind-boggling. 1C, there were at least 14 instances between 2016 and 2021 where risk analysis was inadequate or not performed when appropriate when you became aware of foam degradation and or VOC emission concerns. And then they list a number of examples. The first one from 2016, a test report titled Degradation Foam Respironics Trilogy Appliance. So this is from a ventilator. States in part, quote, the chemical analysis group was requested to analyse foam from the Respironics Trilogy 200 series from 2016, 2 complaints from the 2015 samples, and 1 from 2001. Report concludes all foams are polyester-based urethanes and show bad resistance against high humidity and temperature. This report was concluded as a result of field report complaints regarding foam degradation in 2015. In a follow-up report in 2016 to that initial test report, where they're testing the Trilogy ventilators, they started testing other types of foams to see if they had better resistance against heat and humidity. In 2016, Philips testing new foam. Further tests and reports were also done in 2018 and 2019. In Jan 2020, documents show that a DreamStation 1 device failed emissions testings for VOCs and aldehydes, which was tested from the 25th of January to the 2nd of Feb 2019. Specifically, that the tolerable limits of the formaldehyde compound were exceeded during initial operations as well as at the end of the test. I didn't know about the formaldehyde. That stuff's bad, not good news. In Feb 2020 and October 2020, they conducted a biological risk assessment test to evaluate the potential biological risks posed by the degraded foam. It states, quote, the cytotoxicity and positive genotoxicity results observed from degraded foam samples indicate potential patient risks. Potential cytotoxicity and genotoxicity leading to carcinogenicity are possible outcomes from degraded foam exposure. The foam is not considered biocompatible and presents a significant biological risk to those patient populations who are exposed. This is 2020. So cytotoxicity, toxic to your cells, all the little components that make up your body, who you are. Genotoxicity, toxic to your DNA, can break down your DNA. And these combined can cause carcinogenicity, can cause cancer. And they find this out that it's a significant risk. It's not biocompatible. They find this out in 2020. They did the test. They're doing these tests, trying to figure it out in 2020. 1D, and this one is massive. No risk analysis, health hazard evaluation, or design review was documented as a result of an A-series Philips CPAP device containing silicone foam and failing VOC testing. This is that device report they found, a Philips device marketed outside the US that already has silicone foam in it, and it's failed VOC testing. Holy shit, this is not good. And yet there's no risk analysis. There's no safety documentation. This device has failed VOC testing, and yet once again, there's no documentation for Philips. No risk analysis, no evaluation of the design. Test reports dated 21st of August 2021 document that an A-series device failed VOC testing. Compounds of concern were identified due to their carcinogenic, mutagenic properties. All right, let's move on to observation number 2. This is a rabbit hole, guys, it really is. I'm just Alice in Wonderland falling down that hole, and the further down I go, the deeper, darker, and uglier this gets, and it's about to get a lot uglier. Observation 2, procedures for corrective and preventative action have not adequately been established. This is Philips procedures on what to do when shit goes wrong. What are the procedures? Do you have any, Philips? I don't think so. So this blew me away. A query of your firm's consumer complaints from January 2018 to current for the keywords contaminants, particles, foam, debris, airway, particulate, air path, and black resulted in over 222,000 complaints. Fuck! No formal investigation, risk analysis, or CAPA, corrective and preventative action, were initiated, performed, or documented in response to at least 222,000 complaints that could potentially be related to foam degradation. And even if they're not related to foam degradation, I'm sure a lot of them are, that is insane that there's that many complaints and there's no investigation, no risk analysis, no corrective or preventative action to stop them happening again in the future, which is why this has been going on for so long. Observation 3, you're in deep shit, Philips. You really are. I mean, that's pathetic. How can you have that many complaints? I'm sorry, but that's just disgusting. Observation 3, design validation did not ensure the device conforms to defined users' needs and intended uses. This is related to the Ventilators Health Hazard Report that was closed in 2018 and shouldn't have been closed. You can read that one for yourselves. Observation number 4, procedures for design change have not been adequately established. This is in relation to the preventative maintenance procedure for the Trilogy ventilators, where they would remove and replace the foam. And they've been doing this since 2015. So these ventilators should have been recalled, but instead they've come up with this procedure to replace the foam, to stop it breaking down. They were getting these complaints. And what the FDA is saying is, well, how did you come up with that procedure? You know, these are machines used for life support and to help people breathe. If you're gonna make a change, you need to have adequate documentation as to why you are making that change. And Philips hasn't done that. Observation 5, a correction or removal conducted to reduce a risk to health posed by a device was not reported in writing to the FDA. So when Philips came up with this procedure to remove the foam and replace it in the Trilogy ventilators, they didn't write to the FDA to tell them they were doing it. They just came up with this procedure. Observation number 6. Management with executive responsibility has not ensured that quality policy is understood, implemented, and maintained at all levels of the organisation. That's management being asleep at the wheel, which they definitely were and still are. Foam degradation issues concerning CPAP, BiPAP, Trilogy ventilators were discussed at all management review meetings since 2019. They're discussing these issues at all the meetings, and the managers and the executives are all there. Management implemented no further corrective actions until April 2021, Additionally, your firm became aware of this issue and related field complaints in at least 2015 or earlier. There you have it. It's all come out. So you've known about these issues since 2015 or earlier. You're talking about them in meetings, management's there, executives are there, and you're not doing anything about it, all right? How pathetic is that? Observation number 7. Procedures to ensure that all purchased and otherwise received products and services conform to specified requirements have not been adequately established. Now, this is in regards to the company that supplies the foam to Philips. There's no data, no documentation, no written agreement that clearly describes the quality requirements of that raw foam supplier. Observation 8. Potential consultants were not evaluated and selected based on their ability to meet specific requirements. Basically, Philips signed these contracts with these suppliers without proper evaluation. No supplier qualification forms were completed as required per your supplier quality procedures and work instructions. So you can start to understand how they got into this mess to begin with. They're signing up with these companies to provide these products and services without doing proper evaluation or having any sort of written agreements in place as to what the quality needs to be of those foam components. All right, so just before I do a bit of a summary, I've got a few more articles here. I know it's getting long, but this is important because it starts to paint a picture on sort of how Philips deals with complaints and how we get into these sort of messes, how companies get to these, these points where they have to recall millions of devices. It just doesn't happen overnight. There's always a little bit of a trail, a breadcrumb trail, and I've been following that trail. A lot of you say that I'm being harsh on Philips, that this could have happened to anyone, and I don't share with you all the information that I have because some of it's not really relevant to CPAP. But if you go back and do a little bit of research yourselves, you're going to find that it's a very, very dark company. They're not a nice company, and there's a lot of fuck-ups. And this is just another one. So this is back March 2018, and the title, FDA tags closing Philips plant for mishandling of adverse event reports. Now, an adverse event report is like, say, if you had a heart attack while using a CPAP machine, Philips would get that report and they need to document that and maybe do something about it if there's a problem. In its letter, the FDA said that Philips failed to appropriately address 3,623 complaints it received from between July 2016 and July 2017. The federal watchdog said that all of the 3,623 complaints in question were marked with a low hazard harm symptom code, but also labelled as having a high risk matrix severity level, indicating the potential for serious injury or potential death, according to the Form 483. The FDA also said that 1,792 of the submitted reports should have been escalated and further investigated by the company. The remaining 1,831 complaints were closed with no further evaluation or investigation and no documentation explaining the reason no investigation was necessary, the FDA wrote in its letter. So I just wanted to show you that because it just shows how we got into this mess. There's all this evidence, all these complaints, all these reports, all these adverse events, but Philips is just closing them off. No problem, close them off, when they really should have been investigating and looking further into these adverse events. So in summary, Philips is fucked. It's game over as far as I'm concerned. Regardless of the foam and the recall, it doesn't matter anymore. They are morally and ethically bankrupt, and they cannot be trusted with your health and well-being. It's completely black and white as far as I'm concerned. It's all laid out in that document. 222,000 complaints. Test after test, report after report, dating back years. They knew there was a major problem. They knew it was high risk. The executive team talked about it in meetings, and yet they did nothing until their hand was eventually forced by the FDA. That, my dear friends, is criminal behaviour, and those class action lawyers are going to be popping the champagne corks when they read this document or watch this video. I'm really sorry to you all. I know how difficult this must be to hear, and I'm just so sick of being the bearer of bad news. I really am. I never wanted to be this guy who got on here and had to do this sort of stuff. All I wanted to do is just give you guys a little bit of education on CPAP therapy, but somewhere along the line, things got messed up. But I think it's time we moved on. Good luck. Bye for now.